prepare to deliberate and discuss and make decisions on business and things that will impact this county. We thank you for things as well as they are. We realize that even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, we still have a lot to be thankful for. We thank you for things as well as they are. And we pray for your guidance and your direction, oh Father, as we move through this head in the direction that you want us to go. Father, we pray that once all our business is done, give us traveling grace, allow us to go our separate ways and find things in order we may go. We thank you for Jesus. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Supervisor Trainer. Certainly Jesus is in control. Good Lord is in control right now. First item of business is the approval of the April 2020 order. If anyone needs to make a change, just let us know where that's at. If not, we need a motion in a second.
On the April 6th meeting, 27th, that's the last one for April the 6th.
Supervisor Miller, did you hear that on the 27th?
That should be Neil Evans.
Neil Evans.
27, number 27. Evans.
Gotcha.
Evans,
Right.
EVANS, Evans. And that is being installed on Bethel Road rather than Bevel, not Bethel. Bethel. BET, Bethel. At 745 Bethel, 745 Bethel.
From anyone else? Any other board member?
Will we approve the minutes?
Yes, if we're not, I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes. By Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Trainer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. All right.
Yes.
All right, moving right along. This is our citizens comment period. This is a time that a citizen, any citizen can come up and have a concern that they want to bring to the board. You may do so at this time. Good morning, Mr. Turner.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We have a situation that some of you feel that we're in dictatorship. This is supposed to be the land of the free and home of the brave. But I feel I have some concerns about the homeless people. And the curfew will maybe if I can relate to the people that feel that especially for the people that cannot talk and cannot hear and that they can read it about the curfew and what curfew is. And also we have situation. I wouldn't want anything to happen to the Deacon trustees, New Bell Zion Church, can I get some people in the neighborhood that don't want the church to be there? But we don't need to wait somehow and then try to fix it. But that's formerly Zion site, but the name is New Bell Zion.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else? Being there, we'll move right along. Assessment changes and homestead deletion, Ms. Kuban. Seen in your packet, homestead deletion, and I saw addition in the. You just need an approval. Need a motion and a second to approve that. Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Trainer. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You doing both together or you want to do them separate?
We'll do them both together. Thank you, Ms. Long.
Thank you.
Yeah, both of them, both together, additions and deletion, changes and deletion. You need her to sign? Okay. All right, moving right along, dam status report. This is for Mr. William McKercher, the Chief Dam Safety Officer for the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. Mr. Kircher, you may go ahead if you can hear us. I don't think he heard us.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. You're up.
So certainly, thank you for putting me on the agenda this morning. Multitude of calls last week from different individuals expressing different concerns about what's going on with the dam there in Oktibbeha County. Certainly multiple citizens that expressed their opinions and thoughts on what was going on or where the board's been. With that, we typically would get information from the county on what's, a report that we would respond to and then say, certainly here's some of the information that we need based on data gaps that we see with the information that's been presented. But MDEQ actually, we have not received a report from the county in regards to any data that's been collected on the dam since the slide that was present January 14th. So actually here this morning, in the last few minutes, I've sent a letter that MDEQ is going to put, or that we've placed in the mail today to go out. So I can go through that letter and just read that to you so that you've got that for the record here. And we can discuss anything on here with the full board this morning. So this letter is addressed to the Oktibbeha County Board of Supervisors and the Board Attorney. Dear Supervisors, on January 14th, 2020, the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality Dam Safety Division was notified of a new slope failure on the back slope of the Oktibbeha County Lake Dam. Based on the available records, this dam has a history of past and current slope failures in several locations along the back slope of the dam that have been ongoing since 1985. While these events have been addressed in the past are largely believed to be superficial in nature, opinions have been presented that speculate there may be more substantial internal structural deficiencies in the structure. MDEQ believes there's inadequate information and or assessments of the structural components of the dam to make a definitive determination as to the stability of the current structure. In addition, it was first reported in the August 1979 U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Phase 1 inspection report that the spillway capacities of both the primary and auxiliary spillways were deficient and not built according to the original design specifications. It has since been confirmed in the March 2016 formal inspection that the spillway capacities do not meet the current required Mississippi regulations for the dam's high hazard classifications. Based on recent inspections of the dam by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and MDEQ, there were several studies recommended to the Board of Supervisors during the board meeting on March 3rd, 2020, which would help to improve our understanding of the operation and structural performance of the Oktibbeha County Lake Dam. Recommendations were as follows: to develop a file of supporting technical information, to review and evaluate the probable maximum flood, to perform a bathymetric survey of the upstream toe, to perform an electrical resistivity tomography or an ERT survey of the dam to identify zones of infiltration and any potential voids in the structure, to perform a ground penetrating radar assessment of the emergency spillway, and to complete a potential failure mode analysis process to identify the potential failure modes at each component of the dam and the dam as a whole under static flood and earthquake loading conditions. To begin to address the remaining issues, we are hereby requesting the Oktibbeha County Board of Supervisors to complete the supporting technical information and propose a schedule for performing the remainder of the studies listed on or above, listed above on or before July 31st, 2020. Assessments will require submittal of work plans to MDQ for review and approval in advance of the field work activities. All these studies should be considered part of a multi-step process needed in order to successfully conduct the potential failure mode analysis and will provide support for requests for construction funding. MDQ understands there have been discussions regarding plans to obtain funding to conduct these studies, but that decisions ultimately turn to removing and replacing the dam in full. MDQ believes opportunities for funding the assessments may be available through the FEMA High Hazard Potential Dam Grant Program, and our agency is available to provide further details regarding that funding opportunity. Removal of a portion of the riser is believed to have increased the storage capacity of the dam in order to reduce the potential of the dam overtopping while modifications to the existing dam structure are evaluated. This modification will reduce the risks posed by the structure and allows the board to pursue assessments regarding the integrity of the structure and allow for a thoughtful process to evaluate the necessary repairs and or modifications required. MDQ looks forward to the receipt of a completed hydraulics and hydrology evaluation for the post-modification to see how the removal of the riser has affected that storage capacity value. The county engineer stated that the study was underway several weeks ago. So please submit that report, including all modeling files, on or before May 22nd, 2020. It's the understanding of MDQ that there's been data collected, such as piezometer readings, soil borings, etc., since the slide occurred in January. It would be appropriate to provide a summary of those actions and findings, including field notes, etc., to MDQ as part of that May 22nd, 2020 submittal. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me or email me. Sincerely, William McKercher. So that we were asked by Mr. Howard or Supervisor Howard to lay out a list of the studies that we wanted to see performed on the dam or those that were recommended by the Corps of Engineers during the meeting. So that's that was one of the things that led to us going through and putting that in writing so that that list of necessary assessments would be out there and available for discussion. And, you know, like I said, certainly there's no timeline for having to perform those assessments established by this letter, but we are asking for a timetable how the county would like to address those moving forward. And if that can be, that we ask that be provided by July 31st. The study that's referenced, the hydraulics and hydrology evaluation, that study, as we understand from discussion with Mr. Pritchard, that was underway, and it's something that he was going to be looking to get to us shortly. That's to let us know what the change of the removal of the riser did in terms of storage capacity for the lake and what impact that had on the dam potential for that to be overtopped. So certainly once we get that, we'll go through and evaluate those numbers and see if MDQ concurs with the new storage capacity and what that does in terms of the risk reduction for the dam moving forward. With that, are there specifically any additional questions?
So you're telling us by the 31st of July, we just need to give you the DEQ a set of schedule of repairs.
Well, not repairs. These are the assessments that are brought up that will tell us what the current condition of the dam is. You know, there's been speculation that there's voids potentially in the dam, and going through and doing some of these, some of the items that are listed there will be able to answer the question as to exactly how much the dam has to be repaired. We've had certainly the discussion that the spillways, which is the riser and the conduit that goes through the dam, that's undersized and would need to be replaced. And so the question there, or well, what these assessments will do is it'll lay out, do we need to just have that spillway repaired, or are there other issues within the dam structure that need to be addressed? Certainly the back slope is also an issue, and we know that the material needs to be brought in and added to the back of the dam to increase or decrease that slope that's on the back side of the dam, which will make it easier to maintain, and would also allow for we won't have these slide issues because we're not going to have such a steep grade, and we'll have the opportunity to put the right type of material in there. Because with what we've seen, especially in the location where we're at the current slide, it looks like there's certainly some gravel and some other things that were mixed in with what was placed on the back side of that dam that made it more susceptible to a slide. So, so we'll be looking for a schedule to do those things. I do reference the FEMA High Hazard Grant Program. That is a fund or an award that's made to MDEQ. Currently, the one project that we have proposed that has been turned in and vetted by FEMA is the Barnett Reservoir Dam. But there is a potential that there could be funds outside of what we look at for Barnett that could be utilized on other projects. And so we would need to go through the specifics of what it would take to put together an application for Oktibbeha County to have any of those additional funds that the state has to be used on the Oktibbeha County Dam. So there's a potential for at least partial funding of these studies. That program does have a 65-35 cost share. And so with 65 being covered by the grant. We've also made some recommendations to Mr. Pritchard about, in-state options for being able to perform some of these studies. But certainly we've got partnerships with USGS that can come in and do some of these investigations. There are, a multitude of ways that we can get some of these things done. So that can all be on the table for discussion.
I do have a question about on that, like I said, the application for the FEMA High Hazard Grant. Is there a maximum amount the county can get? No. I know the matching is 65-35, but is there, you have an idea of what the top would be on that, or are you just saying just put in for it?
Well, the state of Mississippi, we receive an allocation grant funds based on the number of eligible high hazard dam projects that we have in the state of Mississippi. For the 2019 award, we got over $500,000, and a part of that is going to be used. Well, a significant portion of that's going to be used for providing 65% for Barnett. In discussions with them, and then also other discussions that we've had with the Association of State Dam Safety Officials across the country, there's discussion that those funding award amounts for 2019, or excuse me, for 2020, that their Congress only put $10 million in the fund last year, but it's appropriated for up to $40 million. And there's discussion even after COVID-19 that they would be looking to go closer to the $40 million amount, which means that we would have the state's allocation may go from 500 to well over $1 million to be able to go through and do some of these assessments. So the assessments that are on here, we're not looking at, I'd say ballpark, we're looking at between $200,000 and $300,000 for what's on here. And that's based on pricing that we've gotten for quotes on the Ross Barnett work. And certainly the length of the dam is not quite as large as what we're looking at for Ross Barnett, but somewhat comparable in other measures. So I think that some of these studies would certainly be able to be completed within the realm of what we may have available. But that's something that we can discuss and pursue further, but certainly between now and July to help with putting some solid timelines together for where we stand on the dam. But like I said, the assessments that are on here certainly are going to put the county in a better position when it comes to not just being able to seek out funds for the 35%, but also moving forward with construction. And also the FEMA High Hazard Grant Program. Those funds are also available for construction. This first year for 2019, it was for assessment only, but 2020 and moving forward, those funds will be available for assisting to pay for construction and repair of dams. But again, that comes back to us looking at how much we have available and what other projects are ready to be evaluated. So we're required by FEMA to take all of our high hazard projects, rank those out across the state according to risk, and address the highest risk projects. So we'll have to look at where Octivahaw sits in terms of those. But with what we've had this last year and with the slide certainly being on there, it would be in a good position to receive funds for the assessment. But in order to get funds for construction, these assessments certainly have to be completed so that it supports the design criteria that would be needed for the dam moving forward.
Mr. McCurcher, I certainly appreciate it. Any questions from any other board member?
Mr. McCurcher, that I had spoke with him and what I told Mr. McCurcher was we've been sort of confused about which direction we need to go. And like I told him, what he sent us was recommendations. They were not something in writing that lays out the steps that they are looking for, not just recommendations. Because if you take recommendations, like the way we recommend you do this, we're not telling you this. But what he said was, he sort of pushed me a little bit on, but why did y'all authorize him to move forward with developing a set of plans? Because we're not.
I'm sorry, but this is really muffled. I can't pick up what he's saying. Is there a way that he can move closer?
Hold up, she's going to take that to
Supervisor Howard.
Okay.
Then we'll start back.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. The reason I told them that I did in fact speak to you, and the reason I did was because when I called you, what you told me was you sort of pushed me on the fact as to why did we move forward with allowing our engineer to develop a set of replacement plans for the dam. And because even if he developed them, you weren't going to approve them because the assessments that you wanted hadn't been done. And so what I told you was, well, what you gave us were recommendations and not a concrete, you shall do this or that, follow this process in order to get the ball rolling. And like I told you, that was just recommendations. Recommendation could be just that, a recommendation. But what we were doing, and I in fact told you that because we authorized him to move forward with developing a set of plans, we hadn't settled on replacing the dam. We were trying to get to the point to where we would stop guessing as to what the cost of that dam would be. We were throwing out some numbers and we were guessing, and the only way we were going to actually find out the cost of placement of that dam was develop a set of prints, put them out for bids, and get some hard numbers. And you said, well, you know, we thought y'all were going to go with the assessment of the dam, and I said, well, you know, in all honesty, to Clyde, the board didn't authorize him to move forward with assessing. Clyde has told us on several occasions, I will move forward with the assessment at the same time, simultaneously with developing plans. The fact of the matter is, that's a lot of work to do the assessment, and he's going to be expected to be compensated. At this point, the board decided to compensate him for the assessments. Listen, I totally agree. We've got to do our due diligence with this project. This is a huge project, and we need to make sure we're taking the right course of action. But at the same time, I'm hearing a lot of things from you. You know, it's a possibility that we'll get this grant. It's a possibility. We'll do a reduced risk of the dam, risk reduction of the dam. And I'm not looking for those type words. What I'm looking for is eliminate the risk of the dam. And so basically what I'm saying, I'm in total agreement with moving forward. But at the same time, I don't want to be stretching this thing out another 3-4 years, you know, exploring this possibility. And we get so deep into this process and we get to the assessment, and then we say, well, you know what? We might as well just replace this dam. Then we got to go back and say, okay, now go out and develop a set of prints and do all your due diligence, go through MD, go through this, and then put it out for bids. As we're doing this, we're continuing to go into rainy season after rainy season after rainy season. And again, listen, cutting the rise off helped tremendously. As far as getting the capacity of water down in the lake and getting us some storage capacity, it has worked a lot better than the pump. It removes the water faster. But at the same time, it has been proven with these last few rains that if we get a 3 or 4 inch rain, the riser cannot handle carrying the water out of that lake as fast as it's gonna come in. If we happen to get into those same circumstances like we were in this past February, the ground was already full of water. We were getting these huge rains day after day after day. I can guarantee you that riser will not keep up with what it needs to do, and we'll be right back in our same situation. Now, we might not stay in that situation for a month and a half to get the water back down, but if we're in the situation for even a week, we're still right back in an unsafe situation with the dam. So that was my reasoning for saying we can simultaneously move forward with doing what we need to do on both accounts if the board is willing. And if we can get, you know, listen, myself, Mr. Pritchett, Christian Campanella, we ran all over the place looking for grants and possible fundings and things of that nature. We just hadn't been able to acquire none. So if you can help us with that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Anything from any other board member? Supervisor Miller, hold up. You're on mute. I think you're muted, Supervisor Miller.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Catcher. We appreciate you coming to the board today. I do have a couple of questions I wanted to ask. And then I wanted to clarify what I just heard. when I read in those reports, even before you came to us today, I did read that, you know, the primary concern was the spillway and the slides, and that even the day after our last slide, when the Corps came to inspect, they couldn't determine that there was anything wrong with the core of the lake. So that basically meant there was no evidence that we were going to have a dam failure. That's what I'm reading in the reports. As we move forward, and I appreciate you protecting the taxpayers of Tubbahall County by requesting us to have the proper information before we spend all of this money. I do have a couple of questions about, now that we've cut the riser off, and you said extended timeline. I did want to ask you a couple of questions. First, the top of the down elevation is about 265, is that correct?
Sounds right.
Okay, and the riser was cut off about 250?
I believe either 250 or 251.
Okay, so that gives us about 15 feet of storage.
Yes.
So does this make the dam much safer? Is this why you're saying that we can extend the time period? There's not a rush to repair this dam. It's important to get the proper information. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's why I need the report or the evaluation from Clyde Pritchard by May 22nd. Mr. Pritchard is supposed to be running an evaluation that says, based on the riser being cut off at the elevation it is now, that substantially changes the storage capacity of the lake, and also how that riser passes water through the structure. And so when we get his numbers, then we're able to go through and check for sure exactly what that means for the change on the percentage that's passed. Now, before this work was done, the dam was able to meet 33% of the required spillway capacity. There is a substantial chance now with the removal of the riser that it's at least over 50%. And as long as it's over 50%, we can move forward and go through and perform these assessments, because our probable maximum precipitation that we use for excuse me, for evaluation of those dams is a number that's around, I believe for Tubbahall, it's like 42 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. Yes, ma'am, it's 42.8. So the reality that we get that this coming fall would be, you know, that's always stretching it. That's a worst case design storm. As long as we're able to go through and show that spillway is able to pass it over 50% of that, which would be over 21 inches of rain without overtopping, then that gives us the authority to extend the time frame to do the repairs, so we can make sure that that everything is appropriately designed, that we're replacing the portions of the dam that need to be addressed, and that we won't be taking the entire structure out, which is just cutting it down to 0 grade, and then rebuilding the core of the dam and everything. So we need to, once we get that report on May 22nd, I'll be able to answer that with more confidence.
Does that mean that once you get the data for the way that the riser's being cut off in the spillway, you'll be able to determine if it's much safer than it is right now?
Yes. Yes. And you are correct that when MDQ and the Corps both, that when we perform the inspections, we don't see, at least there hasn't been evidence of a failure of the structure of the dam. We've been, what we've seen are the superficial slides, and then we know that the spillway needs to be addressed. There is some potential for there being a little sediment that's been washed out around or above the spillway But that would certainly be addressed when that's excavated and a new pipe is put through the dam. So there's questions about the remaining, 95% of the structure and whether or not there's any significant structural deficiencies in the core of the dam. And like I said, we haven't seen anything to that end just yet. I know there's been some questions about water that remains in the toe ditch that's on the back side of the dam, and actually something that the Corps noted and MDQ brought up is that there's really at the end of that ditch where it would flow into the outlet channel, there's actually debris and other material that's built up in that end of that ditch that prevents that from draining through to the outlet channel. So if there is some possibility to have somebody go out and clear that blockage and do the maintenance work on that toe ditch, we would probably actually get to a point where there's not standing water at the base of the dam.
Mr. McCurcher, I certainly appreciate it. Mr. Pritchard's here. Mr. Clyde, do you want to add anything or ask him? William, Mr. Pritchard's here. He's going to give us an update of kind of where we are right now, if that's okay. If you want to hear that, add to that, by all means.
William, can you hear me okay?
A little bit. You're slightly muffled, but I can hear most of what you're saying.
I'm addressing the board for certain. If you have any questions, just chime in, okay? Current status, as most of you know, is we have cut the riser off. I have those exact elevations, and William is correct in that we are now doing the hydrology to see how much storage is in the lake, what the riser will do, how quick it will bring the lake back down, what our capacities are. And again, those are underway now. We've had the benefit of looking at 2 pretty good storm events that came through, 2 to 3 inch rainfalls. We know that when we get that type rain event, we're bumping that lake on the order of 6.5 to 7 feet. So while we gained a lot of ground, we're getting a big increase in the lake level, and it looks like somewhere, Marvell have been watching it too, but somewhere in about a 48-hour time span, we start drawing the slump back out, something on that. Just depending on what happened and how, if they're back-to-back done or what's happening, but somewhere around there, we're able to draw the same back down. But our target has always been our 5 foot below normal pool. Had to sort of way back at the benchmark. We've had Justin Lindley build us a trash rack. He was going to try to set that Friday and then permanent set it today sometime. So that's sort of the status on that. I would say with respect to these funding mechanisms, to echo what Supervisor Howard said, we put a lot of miles on the vehicles. Going to Roger Worker's office, USDA, different offices, trying to see what these grant opportunities were. Senator Worker's office was very, very helpful in looking at how much monies were available, how much was already assigned, when they might come available. We didn't get a big warm feeling about that. So, so far as our status right now, we've done some additional surveying. We're in plan development. If I had to guess, I'd say we're at 25–30% plan development right now. William, you haven't had the benefit. We've done some supplemental soil borings. We're doing 8 borings in a profile across the dam. We've got 5 of those done. Weather caught us, and we lack about 3. I'm gonna put some piezometers in there. But I can tell you that 3 of those soil borings are particularly disturbing. We've got, we call it blow counts, but we got weight of the hammer, 0 blow counts in sections of that down in the 25–30 foot range from top. So In fact, my builder's notes on 2 of them says possible void for 6 or 7 feet. And we've not gone public with that. I want to finalize what we got and get that mapped out for you. But we do have some soil borings. So far as the electrical resistivity, the GPR work, again, kind of decision made in-house, and if we were going to rebuild, that was going to be the plan for repair, that, you know, didn't want to take the time to go through that route. If it's necessary, the board elects to do it, certainly. So that's where I'm at. Any questions for us?
Steps.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it real well, but if I think, William, correct me if I'm wrong, what I think I'm hearing is you'd like to revise hydrology and capacity down by the 22nd.
Yes.
We're working on that. We wanted a chance to physically watch the thing too, to see, you know, if what we were seeing in reality matched what our numbers said. So we can handle that for sure. And I don't see why we can't respond by July. The 22nd may crowd me just a little bit on the hydraulics, but July 31st, certainly we can address your letter.
Put it in. So we're 6 inches today. Wow.
Right.
What's it bringing?
Foot and a half to 2.
Every 24 hours it comes down.
I would like this. Yeah, 3 different, just long, green line. That ground, and regular up 4.5, 4.5 hours. Within 48 hours, we'll probably have half of that. 4.5. So in other words, one day, we don't have to wait in a week's time, we're back down to the same level. And I'm glad about it. I'm glad about it. But again, what I'm saying is like news, what we've done is eliminated the risk until we, and at this point, you cut the line. I can do this. We have a road washed out worse than it has ever washed out. I'm saying, I appreciate the board is doing it, but I don't want this thing to sit here and spin wheels and spin wheels. And continually, people down behind the dam, even if it's a reduced risk, even if the risk is only for a week instead of a month, you still got a risk. And let's not sit here and let's move forward. I appreciate this encouragement of laying out a plan for letting us know exactly what it is that you want.
Again, just to follow up, John, we had the lake at the top of the rise, which essentially, after we cut it, we had essentially no water coming in the rise. We took a little over a 3-inch rain. Again, this is 18 square mile drainage area, so it may have been more over here and less over there, but roughly 3-inch rain. By surveys, bumped that lake 6.5 feet. And it takes it 12, 18 hours, something like that, for that water to get to it. You know, it's not instant. Yeah, so it's all got to flow in, but somewhere around 48, 72 hours. And you can see the impact downstream. So
R.B. Davis.
Yeah, and we're watching too. Y'all know I over there. I'm in the same thing, so I'm watching. So, William, any questions for me before I move on to some other things?
Yeah, I've got a few. So you said out of soil borings that are being performed on the dam, you've done 5 of 8 planned borings. Is that correct?
Historically, we've done a half a dozen or so that were related to specific slides or this or that. And, you know, we got some temporary parameters, but what I wanted to do in this plan development was do a soil profile across the dam. So we set up 8 boards across there to try to find where the chalk contact was, where we might be getting seepage, et cetera, et cetera. We're carrying those boards down about 40 feet. So we've got 5 of those done. We've got lab work done on that. I was just waiting until I finished the other 3 so I could compile it all to get that data to you.
I was gonna say, so how are you doing those borings?
We're dry auger boring with Shelby tubes and standard penetration, and we're backfilling holes with bentonite.
Okay. No, I'm just, you know, if anything, I'm would have liked notification that you were doing that so we could have come up there when you're actually doing those borings and we could see some of that firsthand.
Well, you're welcome. We're trying to schedule these remaining 3. We'll try to get that, you know, get that information to you.
Okay.
It takes about a full day to do one bore. And because, John, of some of the tests, some of the things we're doing, yeah, if you get down 40 feet or so, it's slow. It takes some time. Okay.
All right.
All right, that's it. I got a few other things for y'all if you got time. All right, just a reminder for the board, we're taking bids tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Currently have 5 potential bids for that job. At 10 also, we're taking bids for the signalization at Courthouse Road.
You may tell him we're probably through. Hey, Mr. McKercher, I appreciate you. I think though we have kind of moved on, but we certainly, like I said, Clyde's office and others will be in contact with you. Thank you for coming, sharing your, you know, your side of it and what you're looking at on it. And certainly, Mr. Clyde, his office will be in contact with you and your office as well. These borings and so, but I think we're done with your side, unless anybody else wants to add anything. Supervisor Millie does. I'm sorry, we're just going that way. Mr. Williams can get through. Go ahead, Rickley. You're muted.
I'm muted. You can hear me now. So my question for Mr. McKechnie is, you're telling us to hold off on plans until we get all of the information because we don't have adequate information to move forward on replacing the dam.
Well, no, I mean, if the county wants to go forward and do plans, that's certainly the county's prerogative, but I just look at this and wonder if you're going to go through and do design plans, and I would guess then you're going to have some sort of if-then type statements in there that show that if certain segments of the dam don't have to be replaced because they have the structural integrity is there, you're going to be changing what those plans are. So I would have concern that you'd be putting together plans that are going to have to be modified after we have more information on the structure. And, you know, again, we're not in the position of telling you that you can't put them together. You know, if there's some reason that you need to have that for planning discussions now, but, you know, certainly before DEQ reviews plans for serious consideration for construction, we're going to need to see detail on what physically has to be done based on data collected from the dam that shows what the condition is for the areas that are going to be repaired or modified. And like I said, the way it's been reported, it certainly sounds like the design construction is for a full replacement of the dam, which is taking out everything and starting over. I think there's certainly questions about whether or not that's warranted. Again, it's not our place to say, no, you can't do it. But I would say before anything comes to DEQ for review and approval, we're certainly going to have those checkbox things marked that go through and show based on assessment data that certain areas need to be repaired, and that we're not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I guess the best way to put it. So
let me since we open this since we open this conversation back up, let me comment on this. The moving forward with the development plans was the first forward movement that this board has taken in almost 5 years. So in other words, what I'm telling you is we've been just sort of kicking the can down the road. So we finally decided to take a forward movement with the dam out there. And in all fairness, the complete rebuilding of the dam was because, and this was the thinking, that was the only true way, and I still believe this, that's the only true way that you're gonna truly know exactly what you got. There's gonna always be a certain amount of guessing what you got if you go in patching and this and that. The only true way, and I'm not saying, listen, that's a lot of money we're talking about. I'm not saying that's the way we're gonna end up going. But I am saying I truly believe the only true way to know exactly what you got out there is a complete reclamation of that dam. Now, I'm not saying some sonogram type stuff won't help tell us where we're at, but I am saying we talking about the slide on the back, but we're forgetting about the slide that took place on the front of that dam or on the water side of that dam. So that dam has been sliding since back in the 70s. So that was the thinking for moving forward with the dam. That was the first forward step that this board has taken in almost 5 years to authorize our engineer to develop a set of plans. So that's where we were at with that. All right. Anything else? Supervisor Miller, you were talking.
And not good, thank you.
Good. What? Yes.
Briefly, can you hear me?
Rob is about to update us on something.
Supervisor Miller, can you hear me?
No. Supervisor Miller.
Yes.
All right. Rob was
Can
calling.
you put it back up there?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. You know, we received a letter from the coach's attorney, and in that letter, we didn't an echo here.
You cheat.
We've yet to respond. And the reason we haven't responded was frankly because we had asked our insurance company whether or not we have a coverage through them if we were facing some kind of legal action. Well, they've come back now and said that they would not be able to cover us. However, they may be able to cover us under certain parameters. And frankly, I don't think those parameters are going to come into play. in the situation that we have now, it seems we have more, I guess, more information needs to be brought in to determine what we need to do. Is that a fair assessment?
That's what the MDQ's at.
So at this point, my advice is to not respond to this letter. I've always said there's lots of different ways you can deal with a question. First, you can take the opposite position that they are, that they are telling us, which frankly, I think that we have plenty of defenses in that. Until we have a more substantial game plan, and that is not to say that I can't speak to his attorney and discuss some of the things that we're trying to do, but to respond to him with anything other than what I feel like is what this board actually is going to accomplish, I think is gonna continue to confuse the facts. So I wanted to let the board know that I have not responded to that letter for actually a couple of reasons, but we have gotten a response back from our insurance carrier saying that if we're going to, if something in the future happens, that we're going to have to pay for that out of our own pockets, because they view this as a contractual obligation between us and the coach, and frankly, the 16th section land is included in all of that. So there are multiple dynamics that are at play here, and I just wanted to make certain that as complicated as all of these engineering issues are, there is a legal dynamic that frankly could be just as confusing. And there's, I guess, a question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, this engineering that we're talking about and what we're going to actually try to accomplish probably needs to be done first. Some of those questions are paramount as to what their position is. And they're really just wanting to know what we're going to do. And right now, I don't think we have that answer. I do think we can respond with that we're continuing to gather information and try to figure out what it is and what direction we're going to go in. But I don't know that can't be done by me just picking up the phone and talking to them. But I didn't want y'all to think that we were not responding to them out of any disrespect. It was just that we didn't have an honest answer to give them as to what we needed to do and how we needed to respond until we got something back from our insurance carrier. That anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. As far as I'm concerned.
Is he still on?
Like a juggling.
Mute us.
William, are you still with me? William.
There he is.
I'm here. I think your line's muted. I can't, sharing evidence. There we go. Now it's muted.
We back good now? All right, just for the board's clarification, and I think I know the answer, but I think maybe this board needs to hear it also. Stars align, we get money. We go in and we either reconstruct or repair. DEQ, approves a set of plans. We build it. Ultimately, who's responsible for this dam? My stamp's gonna be on it. The county owns it. I mean, if we go through with the plan, it doesn't work, we have a failure. Does that belong to the county, me, or DEQ? That's just what I want y'all to be clear on. I mean,
everything fails, then
We can do it, and I'm saying we can do a patch job. It's gonna be hard to convince me. I can tell you right now to do a patch because I know too much. But, I mean, we can do a patch job. William can approve it. We can go out there and build it, but if it fails, it's right back in our lap.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you go by the recommendation of what DOT, DEQ says, per their recommendation, that would be, did what I was told to do.
Well, but from an engineering standpoint, for putting our stamp on it and for what I do for y'all as a county, then I'm not gonna rely on that, is what I'm telling you. Ultimately, I'm gonna hand you something that I'm comfortable with to repair.
DEQ has a say in that where it's able.
Correct. And William has a full responsibility to, you know, to review, approve or disapprove what I put in front of him.
I agree. Good thought. But all the technical talk,
I understand what you're saying. But I think argument is some people think it's in worse shape.
don't have a problem. Don't have a problem.
And I share. We got we got we represent all of Occidental County citizens.
Yeah, I get that.
And
the same people are the ones that grab it and shell.
I get that. Well, that ain't people going buying shells ain't got nothing to do with the county level. What I'm saying is, if we can cut the riser off, keep the water down, keep that dam safe within the guidelines that are set by the DEQ, I'm fine with it. You know, I mean,
You say something, you get skills. That's still a lot of skills.
well, no,
If the water gets above what it needs to be for one day.
I get what you're saying, but the Corps of Engineer gentleman that came and spoke with us said there's no such thing as a dam with zero risk. So at a certain point, there has to be some acceptable risk. I mean, it is. No, I mean, if you live behind a lake, and I get what you're saying, and I think the core samples and all the things that Mr. McCurch was asking for will show us what we got. I'm fine with it. I mean, his office and Mr. McCurch's office working together and show us the way we need to go. We just all need to have open minds to how this is to be done.
This is what else I have. Will Mr. McCurcher is asking for, you address that within present.
Yes, and we have not.
That's what I'm saying. Can you take care of the response for the May 22nd and the response for the July 30th?
We can respond, but it's not in my current field, y'all. There's the GPO and listed soil borings, extra surveying, all considered part of my scope.
I got you.
They want detail physically need to be.
Yes, that's part of
Your scope.
So the GPR and
electrical resistive, imaging.
what would be a roundabout cost? And again, could ask for the funding here that possibly could be left over from this mess. Could you get back with us maybe by the next meeting and idea of what those two items would be? So, all right. Anyone else? If not, I think we are going to move on at this time. You good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. McCurcher, we certainly appreciate you. Like I said, Clyde, his office, or someone representing us will certainly be back in contact with you shortly. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for getting up with us this morning. So,
All right.
thank you, Mr. McCurcher. All right.
All
You
right.
want to move right on? Go ahead.
No, right now, I'm still working.
Go ahead with the jail. You were talking about the slide.
All right, yeah,
Jail.
we're taking bids in the morning at 10 on slide repair for the jail. We have 5 potential bidders there right now. And I guess we're gonna do that over there. We have our time. And then the poorhouse signal will also be at 10. I have 2 potential bidders on it. Hickory Grove Bridge. Orlando, I mentioned to you earlier, I was trying to save the piling on that bridge and just rebuild the top. Unfortunately, the geometry of the bridge is like a 45-degree skew. They don't make any parts for 45. Everything is a 30 or a 60 or something. So I was trying to just, again, work from the piling up. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna have to just replace it. Current cost right now, we look back at our ERBRL projects, these bridges are costing us about $3,500 a foot to bid. This one is 38, about 69 feet long. It's probably gonna put this bridge in the $250,000 to $300,000. Right now, sent Miss Emily a status of funds. I don't know if y'all had to look at it, but right now, LSBP has $437,500. And this bridge is LSBP eligible. So I could do a LSBP project. It will take a little bit longer just going through state aid, or I can do it as a private project like y'all done before, would happen a little quicker. So I just need to know which direction y'all like to go.
What about the Longview Edenton Bridge, that old metal bridge?
Well, I've got a note here, checked with David this morning. We are waiting on AT&T to pull one line off that bridge, and then L. Carson is gonna move in there and start work, probably, John, within a week.
I got you. So I need to start,
They're ready to start, but
I'll
AT&T
notify everybody.
AT&T has got a line hung on one side of it, and we're waiting on them to pick that up and put it up in the trees or something.
Now, on the 2 options, both of them will be paid for. The second option has to be paid by the county funds.
Oh,
Out of
LSBP, you have $437,500 in LSBP fund.
It should come out of.
So we could do it as an LSBP project.
That's the quicker of the 2 options.
Now, that would be the slower of the 2, just for having to do it in a state aid format and feed it to them and let them approve it. I would say probably take a month or 2 longer than it would to do it with county funds.
You gonna have to close it, or have you closed?
Oh, it's close.
Oh, it's
Slow.
closed now. We took a mandatory close.
You can tight walk and walk across, but you can't drive across it.
Yeah, and we've been inspecting the bridge, just one of them, and we had the bridge open, we had it rated deficient, but the state came in behind us and said, close the
I
bridge.
mean, bridges are kind of a different deal. You
My
know,
recommendation
goes
also
out.
would be to go with the slowest, cheapest one.
LSBP, slower and cheaper.
Yeah.
And we've already got a lot of information. We've got our survey work stuff and all that done. It's just a little bit slower process going through that.
Supervisor Miller, did you hear that request there on the bridge repair? What was that bridge again?
Hickory Grove Road.
Hickory Grove. On Hickory Grove Road.
Yeah.
We were discussing, whether to have it come out of
The
LSP.
contract was for 306. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
The contract would be somewhere in the 250 to 300,000 mark. Thanks, sir.
And this is a bridge that needs replacing?
Yeah, it's the bridge that needs replacing.
It's close.
It's
It's
close.
closed, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. While he's in there, John,
Go ahead.
I said, while he's there, can you talk to him about the Longview Road project and why we haven't seen any movement on it? And can we not ask for county to go ahead and move the power poles? I think people were confused. There's 360 work days on there. I think people were thinking 360 calendar days. And I don't want this to extend any longer than it has to. People want that road paved. So can we not get some movement on that?
I can address that
Yeah.
now. I don't know if Rick can hear me or not, but that's on my list.
He's going to address that.
Carry that motion through, but
Yeah, okay, we made a motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Howard, to do the LSVP on the Hickory Grove Road Group. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion carries. The bridge is out, we got the money.
And
That's just being
Long-
fair.
Longview, Road was on my list, Brickley. Can you hear me?
I thought you said like middle of June, they were gonna come in. Like Hammond with a bunch of. I know it's bad. Brooklyn disappeared.
Yeah,
I
she
think
just,
she was freezing up. I don't think she had very good songs.
yeah, she froze up.
Yeah, the old metal bridge.
but she talking about the Longview Road.
See, we thought maybe in winter we would get that bridge done. Like you say,
I'll just go ahead and address it and y'all can relay the message. John, if you will, I'll just go ahead and address Longview Road. But Fort County has not been able to get in there this winter to relocate poles. We called them monthly, checked again this morning. They promised us they would be in there like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we still haven't seen them. So,
I saw them riding down.
yeah, we've just not had any movement from Fort County. Phillips is ready to come back in. Things are drying out. They have promised us that they would come in and get them moved.
Hey, just a suggestion. I mean, this is a suggestion. It may be some water leaks through there in a couple of places.
Yeah, we're looking at something.
You could cure those and.
We're looking at some of those too. We're looking at them. But that's the status on it. And you're right, we delivered a copy of the contract in assembly this morning. I apologize, Emily, I thought you had that. But okay, I'm sorry, I thought you had it. But it is a 360 workday contract, and a workday has to be a day that Phillips can go out there and make production. So rain days don't count against it. And actually, if it rains 3 or 4 days and it doesn't dry up for a week, then those don't count against it. Just because it rained yesterday and the sun shining today, then they don't necessarily get counted a work day. So, but we're pressing Fort County as a whole right now. While I'm there on the roads, I will say too, we're making progress on Blackjack. I don't know if anybody's been down through there lately. One, if there's even been a benefit of COVID, is we don't have the traffic down there now, and Burns is making really good time. It is laced with utilities, especially fiber and gas and those type things. And John Weaver, my engineer, has met with utility company after utility company after utilities, MSU stepping in, everybody's getting their stuff out of the way. So we're gonna make some really good progress on Blackjack soon. Okay. One of the next steps, Supervisor Williams, you've seen the barricades that we put in. They'll start building that north side of the road. And when they start that, we're gonna go in and do some patching and leveling on the existing road just to make it ride a little better till we get the traffic turned. But they really hit that thing good, and we're making good progress on it.
Backing up on the long road, I don't mean to back you up, but you said, I think it was a couple months ago or a month or so ago, about that maybe middle of June, Phillips would bring in not only themselves, but some other stuff.
Correct. Correct.
We still kind of on, so I know the weather, but hey, it's drying up.
Yeah,
But I mean, we still on schedule for that.
I actually think they're on schedule to come in ahead of time for what they're telling me, if we can get these poles out of the way. If
We're
we,
waiting on Fort County to move. How many poles did you say they need to move?
that's a bunch, quite a few. And in fairness to Fort County, some 6, 7 years ago. This thing got on track with the STP project. You remember at one time, they kind of had a work order, went in and moved a few. And then that, you know, that plug got pulled and it kind of went into no man's land on their end and really just didn't get finished.
Yeah, I appreciate the progress that Barnett is doing on the Blackjack Road project and follow up that you will also make sure that the project moves along.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Could you look into the possibility of doing something for the Harris Road Bridge? Harris Road Bridge, that's an old known bridge.
Okay. That's not the one that we worked on a few years ago. is it?
Well, we couldn't get funding for it for some reason.
Right.
But there was some funding that was let.
We did some work on the ends and the slopes and a little bit of work out there before.
Rails.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't even finish the rails. The rails were half finished.
Okay.
And it's still an old metal bridge. It's gonna require more.
Yes.
To do what? Yeah, Harris Road Bridge, we're looking at a possibility of replacement, really.
Let's just, for right now, Supervisor Williams, let's just do an assessment. Let's don't start planning. Let me see what we need to do and come back with a recommendation.
A historical bridge.
No, but it's out there where MSU farms and they carry their big tractors across there, you know, with the bat wing stuff and all of that. And it's a long Bailey Bridge is what it is, old metal bridge. Yeah, a board order for an assessment, if you will.
Make a motion that we do a board order for the Harris Road Bridge. Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Kramer, all those. Motion carried.
Right now, my due list,
How was Rick's vote?
I don't know.
Y'all.
I haven't seen it.
You know, so that you didn't.
Moving along.
This is a little permit. Burns Dirt is gonna open up a new dirt pit up on Rock Hill. We went up there and met with them. This is just a simple driveway permit. We reviewed it and approved it. Please.
What's the location of it in Rocky?
It's going into Mr. Walbert's property and it's just about where the fire tower is or the water tank is.
Oh, I know.
Okay? We've got him widening it out a little bit so the trucks can see when they come out of town.
Is he dumping or?
Do I need to sign this or
Dumping or getting
show?
dirt?
Probably getting dirt, I think.
Is he getting dirt or dumping dirt?
He's going to be mining dirt.
Getting it.
Other than that, my due list right now, Supervisor Howard's asked me to look at Macon Bell Road. Yeah, Douglastown Road. I've looked at Oxtop, gave Supervisor Williams some numbers on that. I've looked at Moore High. I've not given you numbers for Moore High repair, that section in there. And now I'm looking at Harris Road. Is there anything else? y'all want me to
Yes.
look at?
I'd said it's probably been 6 months or better. It may be a year. I don't, time flies now. But at Highway 182, where if you're heading west and you go past Rice Equipment Company, you know where the County Lake Road goes to the right, Self
Yeah.
Creek Road
I
goes
know
to the
what
left.
County Lake Road is.
You know where that's at? All right. Well, Self Creek, this other road to the left, anyway, right there, there's been a couple of bad accidents, some close calls. I mean, people call me as if I was involved in the incident, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And tell them, calm down, pull over the side of the
I
road.
think I sent a request to Mark Thomas for them to look at that, but I didn't hear anything back.
I hadn't
I'll
heard.
mark him up
I'm throwing the rod back out,
on it. Okay.
cork in the water again on that. I guess that, and then that's about it.
That's all I got.
Staying home.
Is there any other board orders you look at what we just discussed?
Do you need a board order for what we did on 182 right there?
Oh, dirt pit.
Application dirt pit.
I just need it back. if y'all-
Okay, I didn't know you needed an action on that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll execute it, send it back. I think for these initial ones, just looking at Douglas Town and Maiden Mill and whatever, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'll come back with just an initial assessment on that, and I'm fine with that. I guess Ash is the only one I really need.
Wait, before you go, don't we need to give you some direction on what we need to do with the state aid funding, or do we just need to wait until after? I know we gotta use some of it for blackjack, but we're waiting to see. how
You
the
have
funding goes.
some state aid funds still available, and what I've suggested to you before is like Douglas Town, Maiden Mill, and this.
County
and that.
line road.
County line around the county for y'all to
County
get your
line,
heads together. I still think you get more bang for your buck. If I could let us, like a countywide project to go address these.
Okay, all together.
Then do it individually.
How soon do you want to? With
So
all
as y'all
those?
can
Soon as
hand it to me.
possible. County line road.
So board, how we gonna split it?
But that's why I was waiting on him to give me some assessments on those roads, as to what needed to be done.
But are we gonna still just split it 5-way?
You know, there's needs everywhere in the county.
Yeah.
So
That is the situation. Back last year, District 4 and District 1 got $140,000 in my state aid money that they put on Blackjack Road. I would like to discuss maybe them repairing that.
you'd mentioned that, and I explained that was.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, let me just, what I'd like y'all to do is give me your wish list. I'll go figure out what the wish list is gonna cost, and then,
County line road and whatever you can do on Maven Sturgis Road.
Well, I guess the dollars.
Hey, County line road and Maven Sturgis, whatever you can do on Maven Sturgis.
Yeah.
Especially right there close to where New Light Road meets.
If we divide in 5 equal parts, it seems like it's not gonna be, I know it's not gonna be enough money for the projects we're asking for. So it does seem like some county funds gonna have to go along with state aid dollars on that.
think so. I mean, you asked me to look at October and seems like it was like $300,000.
That's right, that's what I'm saying, so I don't see how we can divide it into 5 equal parts and still be able to do a project out of state aid dollars.
Well, the way to do it is you divide it and then you do what you can do in your district. And if it's over, then use your county funds.
Yeah.
That's being fair now.
But, I mean, to the point, that's a big number, but October, 10 miles long. I mean,
And Maven Sturgis Road is about 4.5 miles long
And
too.
a heavily traveled road trying to get some traffic.
I'm just saying, yeah, it's a big number, but it's all.
Right, yeah.
I don't know how we get it back on.
She's got somebody got on meter.
I'm like, she's trying to.
There she's actually talking.
We get an update on Poorhouse Road, finishing that up. The contractor was supposed to come back and chip seal over that, and the signs still say road closed. We find out about that?
Yeah, you may have to relay this down. I talked to Ken Cook last week. We're getting a proposal for them to come back and either do a resurface or repeat the fog seal and get it striped. They want that, quite honestly, Brickley, they want to redo the fog seal. I'm pressing them to put another coat on the side, 89 seal coat on it, put it back looking like chip seal and restripe it. Kimes is not wanting to do that. They want to do a fog seal again. Which would you prefer?
I was not impressed with the fog seal like you. So I would like to go back to what the road was originally. However, you know, in this term, I look forward to possibly paving it if it doesn't look like we're going to get the funding through a federal grant program. So whatever would be best for that.
Would it be a candidate for slur seat?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Would it be a candidate for slur seat?
Oh, yes, it would right now.
I think that'd be good, because didn't you do slurry out there on,
Oh, yeah.
You liking it?
yeah.
You like it?
What about, is it gonna be additional cost? She's out of the money now.
Well,
That's the
number
problem.
one, Cook is still under contract.
Yeah.
We could have on the fog seal they owe us. We've not paid it, but that's what we have a change order for them to do, is fog seal it acceptable to us and restripe it, that would be no additional money. I've asked them to do another chip seal, because I didn't like the fog seal to start with. They'll want additional money if they do that. Kimes are saying they can't do it. So I'm in the middle of that right now. But certainly if we go slurry seal it, that's a whole
new project.
new project. But right now, it is a candidate for slurry seal, if you wanted to do that.
Is there some discrepancy as to the workmanship wasn't done directly on that road? Is there some debate to that?
Yeah, the fog seal itself just did not work for whatever
It's
reason.
rough, man.
They let them close the road and they just went.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic on that.
So I guess I'm
It's
asking,
getting hurt.
can we not make them come back and do it right, or is that going?
We've got good soil cement base under it. We don't, I wouldn't want to reconstruct it, but we need a better riding surface.
She does not have additional money to pay additional cost.
Okay.
She's allocated all she had on that. Okay.
Ripley wants to say something.
Can I speak? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hello? John, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You locked up for a second.
I'm sorry. If it's going to cost additional money, since we are looking at redoing that road, I don't want to spend any additional money, because if I spend additional money, I want to go back and blacktop it if it doesn't look like we're going to get the federal money. So what I would prefer right now is to do the option that they owe us, even though that's not the preferred option for me. I don't want to spend any additional money on that road right now, just because we're waiting to see if we're going to get that federal money to redo that road. So I think right now, don't spend any additional county dollars, just go back in and make them redo what they were supposed to do correct and stripe it. And then let us find out if we're going to get the federal money, because if we're not, I plan on redoing the road in this term anyway, asphalting.
Okay.
I got it. So we'll make another effort at the fog seal and then we'll stripe it.
I tell you, the way to look at mine, Clyde, on the state aid is, look at County Line Road, see what it takes to do it, and then whatever's left, whatever that balance is, we'll do what we can do on Maven Sturgis Road. But coming down that hill, especially where it meets New Light Road, I mean, a guy in a trailer, he got off in the ditch, he flipped up in there, so.
Just a reminder, what we had asked state aid one time before while y'all were talking about this. If we could do like this base repair and leveling on some of these state aid roads, they agreed that we could do that at state aid if they had an obligation from the county that you would come behind it and do your chip seal or your pay. So you may want to stretch your state aid dollars and get all that repair made and look at using your county force maybe to come in and do chip seal.
And that's what I asked you to do, go through and determine all my base areas.
Right.
The areas that need, because in some areas, that's not bad.
You make it do your county force work with your chip seal or DBST and get as much as you could out of your state aid dollars on base repair.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll work.
Let the county do the DBST.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Clyde.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, moving right along. It took a little while, but moving right along to the road manager's
So we have
report.
to accept the report of, both of those. Mr. Clyde and-
Do we need to take order on that, accepting? I
Okay.
didn't think so. He was just giving them some
Report
report.
update. I think you got all Clyde board.
So road manager's report, Mr. Baggett.
Good morning, board.
Good morning. Brickley, I'm gonna move this over where you can hear him.
I sent the road manager's report. Any questions concerning that report?
No, I appreciate your guys going around during these, I say, a little windstorm that we had a few weeks ago. Thank you. Late, and it happened on a Saturday and a Sunday, but every time I called, and it didn't matter. A lot of times when he calls me, I don't answer, if it's late at night, but it doesn't matter if it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, Mr. Baggett's always answers. So I thank you for that, for sure.
And I believe that's the only overtime we had for this period.
And there were some big trees that were down for sure. All right, has anybody got any questions for the road manager? If not,
I just have a compliment. I thank you for all that you do. I think you do a really good job keeping up with the things that we need done in the county. Thank you for your work and dedication.
do what?
She has a question.
Go ahead, Rickle.
She keeps freezing her.
Morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for doing Silver Ridge, but I did want to ask, are y'all starting on McKinnon today?
We are.
Okay.
They're
How
out
many
there right
days-
now.
Okay, how many days do you think that project will take?
Probably take around 4 days.
Okay. Is there anything else on Silver Ridge that we need to do to make it match, or anything?
Yeah, we could we come down through there and just put one, just reseal it? It's a really short road. I didn't know what you think about that, but it's not.
Yeah. Is that something that would come out of, maintenance? I'm just asking since y'all replaced the cross drain, or I think
Yes.
whatever we need to do to make it where it's not gravel. So that would be fine, Mr. Baggett. Doing
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Well, will we need
It's
to do
maintenance.
the same thing on McKinnon?
Yeah, we'll do the same for McKinnon.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You repeat that. You repeat that.
Well, it ain't never been for me. I'm just looking for a short stick. I ain't even got a stick.
And then it would have a 4-year road plan, but right now, y'all don't have a 4-year road plan, so you don't have one to bring it off of.
Yeah, but why would we bring it in if it's gonna be maintenance? That
Because a lot of times maintenance is part of your 4-year road plan.
I understand,
but
if it's, I understand what you're saying, but you know.
We're due a 4-year road plan meeting. We need to have a 4-year road plan. I mean, just,
Well, listen, I do want to compliment and thank Mr. Baggett. When I sent him what I wanted in my 4-year road plan.
right back.
Yeah, quick turnaround with numbers and everything, so I'm prepared.
Yeah. Same with me. I gave it to him. I don't think it was 24 hours or 48. He had it back. He had it in his truck and said, I got something for you.
Mr. Banks, would you let your people know how much this board and the citizens, because the people I've talked to, when we're hearing a lot about the first responders and nurses being on the front lines of this issue, I've had people telling me that how much they appreciate what they are doing and making certain, because if it weren't for them out there making certain the roads were clear, some of these issues would be a non-issue. People wouldn't be able to get to the hospital, see the doctors, and what have you. And I've heard every single one of these board members compliment them. So I just want to make certain that they're getting the message that from a state representative standpoint and from a board standpoint, we understand that they're putting themselves at risk every day, and we understand that they're first line responders as well, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. The serviceman doesn't get enough appreciation, period.
Regarding the one employee that was sick, he's still sick. He tested again last Monday, and he hasn't cleared yet. I talked to him this weekend. He's still somewhat weak, and he's been out for 4 weeks.
Could he send an updated excuse? We got an updated excuse.
Okay. I think he's gonna recover, but he's just still weak.
You say they did test him again, he still got it.
Right.
Okay.
But his partner has it as well.
We gotta have an updated excuse.
I mean,
Until they're both
that's a pretty
clear.
good one.
Mhm.
But yeah, get that for sure. All right, anything else? If not, we need to accept the road manager's report. So got a motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Williams to accept the road manager's report. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimous. All right, thank you, Mr. Baggett.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Chancery Clerk Business, Ms. Livingston.
The only thing I've got is we didn't have a CD for April and the funds remain the same at Citizens Bank.
Thank you so much. We don't need, do we need to take any?
I need acknowledgement.
Acknowledge that. Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Williams. All those in favor? Motion carries. All right.
And
Ms.
that's all I
Emily?
got.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sherry. County Business, Ms. Emily.
Acknowledge the constable's annual report that was put in your packet.
Motion for acknowledgement.
And I'm gonna second that, but I do have a question. It seems like 2 out of the 3 constables are a little more easy to read. What's the difference in Curtis's here? Does he just do his differently? I mean, it shows he's losing money.
What are you asking?
In other words, you see how the difference in
Okay,
the way Shane,
this one,
All 3 of them?
this one right here is not.
okay,
Not a retiree, and he claimed expenses and will be getting money back.
gotcha. Okay. Got a motion?
Motion in 2 seconds.
He seconded. Well, actually, he seconded.
Motion carried unanimous.
Got an invoice from Pickering Firm for $11,518.50.
This is for the black.
No, this is for poorhouse. Somebody's got it turned off.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Howard. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Budget amendment for the sheriff's budget in the amount of $968 for grant proceeds.
Motion second. So moved. Motion by Supervisor Howard.
I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Got a new subdivision coming in, and Toby sent me a list of names for the 911 roads in it. Need an order to approve those 911 road names.
Y'all have all seen that in your packet. Motion and second to approve those names for the new subdivision.
Motion approval.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Howard. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. I got you.
Apparently, we need to replace the roof on Old Dale, and we got 3 quotes to replace the roof. SCC Construction being the lowest. Do y'all want to replace it, or got any recommendations?
This is just a 3-tab shingle.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it's close, it's $25 difference between.
First and the second.
I suggest we replace it, that's right, Shane.
Yeah. I wish we could get architect shingles though, just for the durability.
Somebody may write it up. Luxury, yeah.
We can look and see what the difference in the price is.
All right, Bill.
They quoted what's on there, which is the original ones, and I guess no,
How
they
long
can't
has
be the
this been on?
original ones. Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
They're kind of out of style.
Too low bid. Remove and replace.
Remove and replace.
We need to do it. I mean, it's just past time. That'll cost you more than you realize. We need a motion to second.
It's not much lower, but I motion to accept the lower bid.
Made a motion by Supervisor Williams. Need a second. Second by Supervisor Howard. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
We replaced an empty library board position that we had at the last meeting, I believe. But now we've got a library board member that has having to resign due to personal reasons. So we need to accept her resignation, and then we need to find somebody.
Mr. John Rigsby is going in, correct?
We already Point all that,
We still need another
except the resignation of this school mission.
mention.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Second.
Except-
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Trainer. Discussion. All those in favor? Motion carries.
And y'all will keep in mind that we need a,
Have place.
yes.
Don't have replacement.
Last thing I have is payment of the claims docket, claim number 2664-32923, in the amount of $790,685.24.
All right. Need to pay the claims.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Power. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Supervisor Miller,
Abstained.
abstained. Okay. 4-0.
41.
All right. Moving right along, county business, supervisor. I'll start with you, Supervisor Miller. County business. You have none? None? Okay. All right, Supervisor Trainer. You got any county business?
Well, I guess, and I was just, I got a text message from the mayor, and she was asking me about what we were gonna do with our curfew, and I think we talked about we're gonna extend it.
Well, I think we are, yes, sir, yeah.
That was your recommendation, when the chair. It's worked well. I was telling them we definitely over the weekend, late night.
Gives you some teeth. Y'all want to extend it until our next meeting on the 18th?
Yeah.
How about we do that? And that way we'll pick it up then. So if that's agreed, you know, every meeting, we'll just go to every meeting. Any discussion on that? If not, yeah, we'll need a motion. Supervisor Miller's making the motion, second by Supervisor Trainer to extend it at least until the 18th.
I'm not.
You're not, okay. I'm so
Wait a
sorry.
minute, when I got mine.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Hold up.
No, I got my speaker off.
Sharon's got to hold up.
Okay.
Hold up.
I still, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
And I'm so sorry, Supervisor Miller. I didn't mean to.
Oh, that's okay.
ma'am.
What I wanted to ask the board is, every Friday is when the governor comes out. So my question would be, what if he comes out this Friday and says restaurants are open to 50% capacity like Tennessee did last week, because the malls are already open. And a restaurant's going to stay open past, you know, people could be there past 10 o'clock. I know they're probably not going to open bars, but, you know, maybe they're going to open restaurants to 50% capacity. You would be limiting the capacity of your business, your small business, to operate if we have a curfew at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Would you want to put a caveat in there that if the governor, you know, if he changes his stance on it like Tennessee did, to where, like you're saying, restaurants and things like that can be at half capacity, that then the curfew would be, I guess, mindful of that, cognizant of that.
I think we need to be in line with what the governor's saying.
Okay. Well, and that's a great point. Are y'all okay with that right there? And you know, just in case he changes his stance, that this is flexible, you know, that if, you know, on a state level, they do change this, that we will accordingly. So is that okay with y'all?
Sounds good. Well, I don't think it's much of an issue.
No, I mean, it's not, but if they do change it, then.
One of the things, I mean,
Yeah, you know, but
restaurants are open, and I mean, we're not gonna bother them.
right. Well, for instance, like the cookout, they're open till 2 a.m. You know,
Yes, in the
I
city.
mean, I can just tell you, you know, which is fine, but
So her suggestion is to wait until Friday to see what the governor wants.
no, she's saying if the governor says that restaurants can be at half capacity like Tennessee just did, instead of our curfew just being blind and a blanket until from now until then, just add a caveat that if on a state level, the governor says restaurants can be at capacity, that the curfew will then follow the guidelines of what the governor. So if it changes, I mean, is that okay with everybody? Or
Would the sheriff department be understanding to those individuals who are coming, let them know that I've been out to eat late and on my way home?
You know, it's different. At 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a whole different.
yeah, those shine out. Those are, you can kind of detect those a lot easier. So Supervisor Miller, barring the fact that the mayor or the governor, apologize, could do that. I mean, that would be my suggestion on that, is add that caveat to it.
I just
So-
don't want to. I just don't want to hinder small businesses if they can come back to work. You know, our restaurants and our small businesses. I want to make sure that.
Anything we can do to help them, by all means, we want to do that. Let's do that. Let's add that caveat to that. And I'll make that motion that if the governor this Friday or even next Friday decides to change that, then the curfew will change accordingly to what, to his guidelines. So that's my motion. Got a second by Supervisor Howard, and that's until the 18th of May. Any more discussion on that? If not, all those in favor?
John, who was the first?
I was the motion, Howard was the second. All right. Supervisor Trainer, you have anything else from District 2?
Oh, nothing at this time.
Okay. Supervisor Williams?
Yes, I have something in relation to Rural Water Association. One in particular, the Chapel Hill, Pleasant Grove Rural Water Association asked for some assistance for gravel. Just based some on the driveway to get to the elevated tank, trying to get to the elevated tank.
Okay. You make that motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
So, motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Howard to get them a little gravel to get to
Gravel,
the elevated
to
tank.
get to the elevated tank on Cedar Lane Road.
Cedar Lane.
On Cedar Lane.
What's
It
that?
was Chapel Hill and Pleasant Grove.
Thanks on Cedar Lane.
The elevated tank is on Cedar Lane Road.
Chapel Hill is the water association.
Association is Chapel Hill / Pleasant Grove.
Okay.
Any more discussion on the matter? If not, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. Anything else? Supervisor?
I don't have anything else.
Supervisor Howard?
Well, yeah, I guess you and I both gonna sort of talk about garbage. When we mean garbage, we mean
I'm gonna move this quickly.
house count, things of that nature. I spoke to Supervisor Reeves, and I spoke to Supervisor McGarvin by phone this weekend, and a couple of issues came up. One issue was the house count. Golden Triangle Plan Development was supposed to be finished with the house count by the last day of April, in which that was an extension on that house count. So I'm not sure if Ms. Garrett can give us an update on if they are done with the house count or not. And the reason I say that is because we in our executive meetings, we have been given a couple of extensions on the count that they came up with, the full count. We're paying 1,200. We're paying for 1,200 extra houses on the 1,800 extra count that they came up with. So they had given us some extensions on the other remaining 600 houses to allow us to do a house count. So Ms. Emily, have you gotten anything from Rudy?
No, I did not call down there Friday to see if they had gotten it completed yet. I will call this afternoon.
Okay, so at this point, we need to try to finalize some numbers,
if we don't come up with some numbers, then it's gonna automatically go to that 1,800, this coming Thursday of this month. So we've got a couple of weeks to try to get up with that. Another issue that kind of been talking about and throwing around is the fact that we still getting a lot of calls from property owners that's going to the mailboxes and pulling out a $5,000, $6,000 garbage bill that's been owed by the tenant, that they was not aware of. We're just trying to come up with. Ms. Emily has been doing the best she could to sort of case by case, but I just felt like as a board, we need to come up with one set rule, because I didn't feel like that was fair with Ms. Emily to have to try to go case by case and work with this. If we just had one standard that we could put in place to address this situation. So I just want more input from the board.
Yeah, Supervisor Howard and I talked, and at this moment, I mean, we don't know the perfect solution. We're trying to come up with a solution that our billing department matches what, Golden Triangle is billing us or billing them, or ultimately billing us. So, I mean, we may need to have a work session on our 4-year road plan and also this, just to kind of hammer out, like you say, a standard. I'm with Supervisor Howard. There needs to be something that's fair, something that's consistent, and at the same time, something that can be solvent for our Tippecanoe County, because we're always going to pay the bill if there's a light bill or a water bill on. Be it through the PDD with Rudy and his billing department, and they do great working with me. Anytime there's someone needs a can, they always get up with me. Anytime they have an issue about something, they always call me. But sometimes, there's only so much that they can do without us creating some sort of a policy or some standard like you're talking about. I do know, like, water associations, and I know Supervisor Williams, you're astute with that. What helped me in my district to try to get a more accurate number was the water association. One did work, 2 out of the 3 worked well with the billing department. One, they never could get the numbers out of, and that was the hang up spot. If you could find that water bill, that would tell you, is it billable or not billable. For county, there's still a little work there to try to see if they have a power bill on or not. Power, was it on or was it not on? Kind of the paperwork in the back, log of that. But we need to have a work session on this to try to figure out a standard, like you're saying.
And there's, we're really talking 2 different situations. One is the house count. We need to get on top of the numbers and everybody feel comfortable with the numbers. But the second issue is those property owners, and I've talked to Ms. Emily about this, and the service was offered and given, but I don't know, there were some property owners that were not receiving the bill, so they had no idea that the bill was not being paid. And then once we did what we did here in the boardroom, then they got like I said, a $5,000, $6,000 bill sent to them, and now they're expected to pay it. So, you can look at it both ways. One, the services were offered, and or 2, that property owner really was at a disadvantage because they didn't know that the bill was not being paid. Now it's on them. So I was just, I wanted to hear what the board thought about prorating. We talked about prorating maybe. We talked about from this point forward. I mean, just different scenario. I want to hear.
Well, legally, I wanted to know, and I don't know. And I guess it would be Rob, you know, and you may not know the answer to this, but in other words, liens on property. Say I pass away and my child inherits this property, just generically. You're responsible for liens, being taxes, utilities, etc. Can you, legally, can you even forgive those?
We cannot forgive any kind of, and I'll put quotes around, service or utility that's been aligned with a piece of property. It attaches to that piece of property. I've actually had people ask me the same question that you're getting hit with, and I mean, and the question, whatever we do, you're right. It has to be consistent. There has to be some consistency as to how we do it. We can't treat, I'll use me for this example. We can't treat my dad differently because he's my dad any more than we can treat just another constituent that we have. So that's one of the hiccups you kind of get into some of this. So whatever we do, to me, there's going to have to be a certain deal. It's got to be how we deal with everyone. But the second part of that is that if we decide to do something or change something, we need to send this up to our audit department, make certain that it complies with what they're going to require us. Because I don't care what we do, as long as we don't get into a situation where it appears that we're doing something that's fundamentally against our audit department and our state laws. So if y'all want to, what we can do is when we have this session, come up with an idea that you think will work. I'll, at that point, if I get somebody from the audit department on the phone at that point, which I generally have a pretty good chance of getting folks on the phone when I need to, we'll get them on the phone and say, look, we're trying to come up with a solution. Because you're right. I mean, there are situations out there. I hate to say this, but if I got a bill for $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, whatever that amount is right now, and I know what they say about assuming, but if I assume that bill's being paid by someone else and it's just not, you know, it becomes a pretty big problem. So if y'all will come up with a generic thought process, I will go ahead and see if I can get, and I'd rather have it in a formal. We can ask generically, but then we'll put it together in a formal request for what we can do, and then get it back. Now they're not going to tell us what to do. They're not going to give us that. I prefer that sometimes. They will basically say, yay or nay, that you can do whatever it is that we're coming up with. But we're not the only county that's facing this, so I can't imagine that there's got to be somebody out there that's come up with a solution for this. And unfortunately, I haven't found that person yet, but maybe through the course of doing this. Another option would be, instead of forgiving it, I mean, we do have laws that, like with bankruptcies, we can't forgive it in a bankruptcy. However, it can get paid through the bankruptcy. There's a possibility that maybe we could take that model and use it to help us, especially with some of these larger, in other words, they pay their bill, whatever's owed, and then another number is attached to that so that it is spread out. I don't know if that, I'm saying that just thinking off the top of my head here, but it may be something that some way we can do that helps that property owner. It's not a huge sum coming out of their pocket all at once, and it puts them back on track. That's possible. That's something that I thought about that we could do. However, if that is what we do, number one, it's going to create a headache dealing with. Somebody's got to keep up with that. The secondary part of that is it has to be consistent.
Yeah. Otherwise, like you said, and we'd said, it ain't gonna work.
It's not consistent. It's not
But
consistent.
it's like you're saying, the scenarios you were telling me this weekend, we need to have those scenarios. What if, to him, to the audit department, then that. And, you know, legally what we can do as far as billing or what we can't do.
if the audit department could give us a list of things we can't do,
Yeah.
and we can kind of go from there. I don't know if they can, but if we have a list of things, these are the things that you can't do. You can't forgive a debt. You can't, then we know we need to work from a different.
Yeah. See, after I got off the phone with you, my mind was racing. What, this all sounds good, but what can we do?
Right.
What can't we do?
Right.
And like I said, that work session, we get the hypotheticals to him.
All of this really ties hands to finding solutions to this. And the audit, unfortunately, when you're dealing with these types of government agencies, they can only give you a certain amount of parameters based on what you're asking. Because honestly, they don't want to be blamed for us making mistakes, I guess is the best way to put it. Whatever mistake happens, it'll still be our mistake. Now, that's the reason I say I'd like a formal letter sent to them and then a formal response back. Those help us show we are trying to stay within those parameters. And this is a serious problem for several people in our community.
And for the county itself, this is, could be and a lot of times in the past, it has been a cost to us. But certainly, yeah, we need to hammer that out. And we could maybe combine that with our 4-year road plan. That'd be a lot to hammer out, though. But,
Maybe we can get Rob.
well, we may need to get with the building department like we were talking about and set up a time the two of us could meet, Emily, Rob, and maybe even Rudy, and just let's try to, and then we'll report back to the board by maybe next board meeting. And I don't have a problem setting that up or Miss Emily setting that up. And
I worked on several problems like this. And one of the problems with Fort County. Fort County would not release information to the homeowner pertaining to a rental. And my stance with Fort County is that you're really not releasing information about the rental. You're releasing information about the homeowner's property. I think we finally got to them to realize that they can tell the homeowner when the service was disconnected and when the service was turned on. And maybe you can communicate back and forth with Fort County because that information is needed to be able, so they will not be billed for a portion of that cost. If Fort County would only present that information, when the service was turned on, when it was turned off, saying nothing about the rental, personal affairs there.
just
So I
if the
think
power was on or off.
on off,
That'd help a lot.
on off.
Because that determines whether or not they bill.
Right.
In other words, through my
So-
water associations in my district, it cured up about 65% or 70% of it. Not like that, but you know what I mean.
Right, that'll take care of a lot.
PDD had an easier time in that area.
That'll take care of a lot of the costs of some of these bills. If Fort County would just say,
Or give
That-
proof
that-
of them. I mean.
yeah, give them some kind of notice or something and say the lights was off at this time, turn on at this particular date. That's all they need. to be
Or
able
that
to
they
take
were
care
on
of
the
that.
whole time. And I mean, it'll just answer the question,
They
Can-
only have to prove it if it wasn't on, they don't have to prove it if it is on. But we can excuse them.
They have to prove that it was not on.
Well, not on, right.
Yeah. During the time that it was not on, and we were sure.
Well, they had to show when it was turned on and when it was turned off. Because it's within that gap of time that they don't have to pay.
And if, like you're saying, if Fort County gets the idea, we're not going in there to ask for personal information.
That personal
This is
information.
our billing department at the PDD trying to
Well, It was the property owner, they wouldn't give it to, it wasn't even the,
Right,
yeah,
that,
it wasn't the PDD that was asking for.
Because it wasn't in their name. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, because the property owner can go up there and they won't even give them.
they won't give it to them, and they won't give it to PD, they won't give it to the Golden Triangle Plan and Development neither. So the homeowner just stuck with the bill because they can't determine when the service was disconnected.
So, because
And Polk County would not help.
From 2000 to 2010, but in fact, in 2005, it got disconnected. Then that bill can be adjusted. So those 5 years can be taken off that bill.
That is correct.
If they didn't have a water bill
Supervisor
also.
Williams was saying, yeah.
I mean, and that'll answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
If they can prove that the house was vacant, residence was vacant, we can get rid of that part of the bill.
But on the flip of that too, somebody's got $1,000 bill, whatever they have. And the billing department, like we said, can prove, hey, we've been sending it to 101 Main Street. They have been getting it. They just don't want to pay it now. That's the flip of it too. We just want the answer and a
Let me
standard,
tell you one
whether they
problem
do or
that
don't.
I ran into with the PDD and I hate it. When we readdressed back in whenever it was, and we added all these new accounts on, they have not followed through on whether or not there was a mailbox there. So it's not uncommon for them to get a bunch of bills back each month because there's not a mailbox there, but they don't follow through
To see if there's a PO box or
to follow through to see whose was coming back and what needed to be done.
something.
They just all piled up somewhere.
Well, that needs to be, like you
That's
said,
on
that's,
them.
like I said, no stone unturned. You know,
I guess,
Because
in
they think that
conclusion,
their part was only building it, not being responsible for the,
Can
for the
we,
collecting.
can we try to set something up like that? And I'll go, or another, and you can go, or she can
Y'all
go.
just need to let me know when y'all can gather.
Just find out when he can meet, and I'll,
You want Rudy and,
Rudy, and I don't know if we'll need you, Rob, but
yeah, but
we'll need Rob. And then Miss Emily, and then me, and
Rudy, whoever handles Rudy building down there, we definitely need them.
Jennifer.
to be
Yeah.
involved.
And Jennifer's been a world of help.
Yeah.
She's
yeah.
doing everything she
And
can
they
do.
talked about, they were gonna go out and do the address and everything. I thought they were sending Toby out to do it or something, but they might put that on Jennifer also. She's the one that's had to go out. and do that.
How can she do that while she mans that window?
She's had
I
to do
know.
that.
That's what I'm saying. She's doing everything she
Yeah.
can.
So she's the one doing the house count?
Yes.
She went through every page in my book. I'm telling you, we went for hours through that thing.
And sometimes she's being asked to do things that are, they're complicated. Like she called me with a question about bankruptcy. Well, she didn't ask me the right question. She asked me if we could forgive, if through bankruptcy, can we forgive these things? Well, no, you can't forgive it. However, we can have it paid through the bankruptcy. And that's a different question. And in fairness to her,
She's not a lawyer.
right, she didn't know that there was, I mean, I was answering the question she asked, but I didn't know until, I guess, 3 months later that there was more to the question than she was asking. She just didn't know that. And bless her, I respect her. She did everything she could, but then she gets an ugly letter from an attorney saying you're not complying with what the law is. And I looked at it, sure enough, I mean, you weren't, but it wasn't because she wasn't trying. She was trying to. So I want to be clear that this young lady has done everything she can.
She handles every single garbage bill and past due bill that comes in.
It's a lot. It's an awful lot.
On top of, having to be there when people come and taking calls,
Right.
and calling us.
These people are not happy when they get a $5,000 bill.
no, they're not. And we are not happy. We're not happy when they get.
We're not.
But
In conclusion, in conclusion with my concern earlier, could you communicate with Ford County and try to see whether or not there's a way to provide information about when the service was disconnected without getting into the tenant's personal information?
Provide it to the actual property owner,
Provide to the property owner.
not to
Yeah,
us or not to
to the property owner.
I think that they would probably not have a problem with that, assuming that they're not going to be liable, which goes to the next step of this. We may have to give them some protection and giving that information. We're just living in it's strange to me that you can get a hacker to come up with more information about you than ever existed. But if you ask for a legitimate purpose.
And then you
Did they
get
have an
into- it
electric
gets
bill?
more
Right.
complicated. When it's their property, and it's not explaining money.
The
Well, and that's
reason-
part of the problem we've got running around too, y'all. We got an awful lot of people in our community. Well, I would guess this is a United States problem, but grandma passed away, left it to her 10 kids. Those 10 kids have a grandkid living there. You've got a litany of people living out there, and then all of a sudden, somebody gets a bill that's
Right.
now in their name, and it just explodes into.
Which led to my question,
You're exactly right.
back taxes and grandma dies, you're gonna go to Alan's office and pay back taxes.
He was gonna have to do it.
Well, her. And
So
you're gonna pay the back
it
tax.
gets so complicated. This is one of the reasons people don't like to go through probate. I mean, I get it, it's expensive. But that's one of the reasons you go through probate is to get these things taken care of.
But if you don't want to be held accountable, you don't have to.
Well, here's the special situation that, and the girl that called him, I had to call him. Here's what happened. Her mom got sick. Her daughter was living in Chicago. She came down, got her mom. Her mom owned the property here. Her mom's son lived in the property, lived on the property. Well, she became the person that oversees the executive that oversees a building and stuff like this. But on the flip side, the property was still in her mom's name. And it, then you get into the siblings and their share in that part. Well, the bill comes to her. So she says, listen, my name's not even on the property yet. We don't know how the property is going to end up being split. But I think the bill, Emily, what was it, $2,700, maybe more than
I
that?
don't remember, but she never did comment.
She didn't. Well, but anyway, she got a little upset with me. She said, well, I guess I'll take the bill over at the Chicken Hill Cemetery. But you get into those, that's why I say we need some sort of standard.
Well, sometimes, like I said, sometimes you're given good things, sometimes you're given bad things.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, look, it's society. If somebody says, hey, man, you got given half a star, you just got given the whole north side, well, that's great. But you got to pay last month's power bill on it. What?
Yeah.
And that's just, but we still got to come up with a standard because Hall County, we got billed for that. That was my whole rub all along. In other words, we're paying for, just say we're paying for 2,000, but we're only being able to bill out for 1,500 or whatever, you know what I mean, whatever the number is. And so that 500 deficiency or whatever that deficiency was, 1,800 is kind of the rub.
Well, changing from the renter to the property owner is the first step. But we still got one more step that I haven't figured out how we're gonna bridge that gap, is when the property owner does change from this point on. How are we gonna know?
Oh, when they sell the property or something happened with the owner, change it.
Well, we ran into that because you remember that gentleman, because it's in the rears in taxes. In other words, if I buy a piece of property from Marvell,
And I hadn't been.
yeah, or your garbage bill,
Whoever got it property.
it would be recorded in the courthouse that, hey, on May the 4th, I bought this property.
Somewhere, somebody at PDD figure somewhere's gonna have to be.
In
spot check or
communication.
something.
Title search.
Well, then you're exactly where my brain just went. I don't know if they're attaching it back into the courthouse, which I don't think they are, which is maybe our caveat to find a solution to some of this.
Jennifer did call when all of this started and got our website. And she's been going on our website looking at updated deeds. So she is.
She's smart. She really is
She's
very
doing
smart.
her
But
dead level
she's not
best.
gonna- she's doing that initially to try to get the bill to the right person. Now that we've changed, seeing a problem with getting, not being able to keep up with it, knowing when all properties change.
So if she's going in there once a month, then she puts in that old property, say it's.
She'll have to put in every property number.
No, she'll, like, if she's just randomly checking the names, I mean, you gotta have that person's name. In our system, she can put in, say, if I sold some to Mr. Howard, she can put in my name and every transaction would come up and she could see if my land has been deeded out.
Here's an idea, and this may not work, but I'm just spitballing here and trying to get my head wrapped around this. Well, first of all, we've actually got two issues with this. One is all of the things that happened before we changed what we're doing, because that's going to be different from what we do from here forward.
That's right.
Things that happened in the past, we're going to have to find a solution,
Solution
whatever
for
that
that.
solution is.
Solution for that.
But anything that we have from this point forward, here's a thought. Once a year, either I or someone needs to go to the justice court and all of the delinquent bills that are coming through get a lien on that property attached back into the court file. And that way, if it does sell, we get paid.
I got you.
That's because it's not a huge
Yeah,
amount
we've got to
here.
actually get the liens attached to the property.
Right. If we don't do that, we've done nothing to solve this for the next.
For the next person to buy.
Apples to apples, but you got all the apples sorted out.
Yeah, we gotta sort it out before we get here.
The law says you automatically, the garbage is automatically a lien against the property for 12 months. But
We
the
don't
lawyers and everybody's not calling to check to see if there's a garbage bill
Correct.
against it.
Correct.
Something they don't think about.
Right.
For instance, let's say somebody buys the back taxes on a piece of property and ultimately get the property. Don't they assume?
They assume whatever
The
debt's
liens.
attached.
They have to assume that if it's a mortgage, they have to do that and everything else that's on.
But wouldn't the garbage bill be no different?
Yeah, they can't get a clear
But if
title
it's
for it
not-
as long as we have a lien.
But if it's not, well, they're correct, they're not gonna get a clear title, but if it's not where you can go and find it, know it, then there's our issue right there. We're getting, there's no reason in the world anybody should have a $10,000 garbage bill.
No,
What is this, every month, $12?
13.
This is $13 a
$13 a
month.
month.
You realize how long it's been?
Way,
for-
that's way
Yeah.
back. That's
So
way
this will keep
back.
you on top of.
The thing is, I think we could do once a year, a conglomeration of this and attach it to the property. That way, once a year, we're able to at least have that, a judgment for that property out there. I mean, that's the only way I know to have
And
it.
how do we know when, on this end, like, you're taking our information, and you're putting it on the tax rolls for property? How are we gonna know that property is sold and we need to be billing another person?
If we're attaching it into the,
Cause it wasn't out of debt. I mean, it didn't have bad back pay.
right. Well, I mean, if it's sold, it's gonna be in our Chancery courthouse.
I was gonna say, it wouldn't.
And if
But
the
you're
person
right.
paid the bill off, then Jennifer needs to if the money is in my office, then Jennifer needs to send me something showing that it was paid. So that-
There's so many mechanical parts to this that are gonna create. This is gonna have some expense tied to it, y'all. That's the only thing I know to say about it. However,
If we can make it solvent moving forward, it's
Yes.
worth every penny.
I think that it would help us with this.
I'm like
One of our problems is we got too many people involved in our garbage billing. Where Lance County's only got one organization involved.
And that's why I've been keep
keep saying, let's talk about building, let's talk about garbage. But I think John's right. We just need to sit down and workshop on this thing and try to hammer it out.
Y'all hammered this more out in my mind as we're talking about it more than I've been able to before, because there are so many weird scenarios.
We need to be writing this down. What if?
I'm sorry, but you're right. You're exactly right. But I mean, I don't know. Do we have an exact number of exactly what's owed out there right now?
We're over $2 million behind in that garbage bills.
Aren't we going to raise the garbage rate?
They're raising the garbage rate on us. We have not decided that we're gonna raise it on the customer.
Because if we, in fact, we sort of talk about, if we got all of these new customers on the road now, that'll offset.
You gotta, yeah,
We
same
wouldn't have
amount
to
of,
raise because we bring it in more money.
with the same amount of miles.
But right, even though they raised it on us a little bit, we wouldn't have to raise it on our customers because we've identified so many more residents. Now we're bringing in more money.
And now, I also think we still have a problem with where they are billing us for it, but they're actually being the ones that get paid for it.
And see, and that's why I wanted to get this house count, because there's still a couple of issues. See, Mary Ann says that a trailer park somewhere, we're building this trailer park for 70 residents, but they don't have garbage cans, they actually have dumpsters, which in turn is causing them to have to pay the fee.
They could be actually paying for the dumpster, but they're not getting the individual.
Right, so I mean, it's
So it flips back and forth, because we got on their hand pickups, they're collecting the fee, but they're picking it up on our route, and we're paying the dump fee.
But that's why we need to get all of this clear.
See what I mean?
Straighten out.
I hadn't even thought about that dynamic, how you just.
I'm glad it finally boiled to the top.
But
Oh, you
Well, now, look at-
aren't they billing us for that dumpster though?
See, that's when you and Mary Ann need to get together and hammer this thing out.
I think they're billing us for that dumpster.
The way Miss, not Mary Ann, but Miss Betty. In other words, say those 12 jury seats are 12 houses in a neighborhood. You get billed $13 per house.
Yeah.
If you want a dumpster instead of those 12, a lot of neighborhoods are like, I don't want 12 dumpsters at the side of the road. They'd rather have just one big one. You can do that, but you still pay for that. And then you pay $97 a month. It was $97 a month for a normal size dumpster sitting over to the side. So all you see is a dumpster, unless you're a commercial business, and you can do commercial business, and that's separate. And you pay the 12 times 13 plus the 97.
Plus the 97 for that dumpster. You don't see the can, but you're still paying for it.
You're not paying for the can.
They
You're
have to
paying
pay
for the
us
service.
house to house, but then they can get them to pay them for the dumpster.
Well, that's why if a can's been broke for 6 months and hadn't been out there for 6 years, people say, well, I hadn't had a can. You're not paying for the can. You're paying for the service. When they drive by your house, whether you do or don't have that garbage is irrelevant at the road, or even a can. It's whether they come by your house.
And I've ran into it both ways. I ran into it where the customer was paying for the dumpster, but then I ran into it where they were not paying it. The county was paying for the dumpster for them to have a dumpster bay.
So this is something that's worth straightening out.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've talked to a lot of people. You say, well, who are we going to talk to? Lowndes County and other counties who directly bill the homeowner. But it's hard pressed to find someone who's ever transitioned.
Lowndes County did.
Well, it's been a long time ago.
When back in 2004, something when they changed over, they were building renters.
And they said it was tough for a little while, but
what's happening
nobody's,
is over there does their billing and their pickup.
they have a 99%. rate.
Well, if we schedule a time for a workshop.
Y'all let me know when y'all want to have a workshop.
Just get up with Rudy and whenever he can do it. Not today, but maybe tomorrow.
When you're on the end time.
This is, yes.
We'll work around.
You can call me this afternoon whenever he.
In the meanwhile, we do have individuals with tags on hold. That same individuals we're talking about now, who own property and rentals been gone 15 years ago, 10 years ago. But they still holding that homeowner responsible, so their tag's still on hold.
The homeowner's tag's been on hold?
Yeah, homeowners.
Well, I didn't know that we ever did a homeowner's tag put it on hold, but we were supposed to be.
Yeah. Where you supposed to be, but and then too, if someone moved in that house,
Their tag.
that's what happened. Someone is moved in that house.
If they prove.
Yeah.
When they moved in, we don't hold them responsible for that last person. Was the way it's been when we were billing the renters. So yes, we definitely.
Just when your lease was.
Yes.
Right.
That
When they
hasn't been a
moved in.
problem. Yeah, because we set up a new account for the new renter. Was the way it's set up.
A lot of homework. I don't have anything from the chair other than that, Supervisor Howard.
I've got two things. One thing was just informative. The contract that we're getting to do the online sales tax, property tax, we weren't able to change the contract because they said that they would try to abide and fix everything, but changing the contract, we went kind of back and forth for a week or two on this, and I changed some language in there. Well, they had their attorneys look over the language. They were afraid that it was going to open up some liability for other places that they weren't doing that in. And y'all, this kind of became a situation where we were putting a lot of time and energy into something that would only have a very small amount of money attached to it. In other words, we were taking if this continued, we'd be taking a $5,000 bill to a $100 problem. And after talking to them and getting with their legal, I said, look, let me make certain that our tax assessor was okay with leaving this the way it is, and also get with Ms. Emily and make sure that she's okay, certain that she's okay with it. But we did not, so I'm clear on this, we did not change the contract for them to give us a credit if there was a tax sale for 16 section property, for example. And the reason we didn't is it could create some legal problems for everybody. And frankly, when it was all said and done, we were only talking $5-10 on some of this stuff. So it just wasn't
just made more finality.
Right. It just was creating some problems. So I wanted to inform y'all that was what we did on that.
Well, my granddad used to say, $100 saving that.
Well, that's what we were fixing to do. And it was just not worth it for this board to go through the headache that it was going to create. So that's what we did on that particular situation. And so that you're aware, the contract we signed is the same contract everybody has signed. This is not something that's out of a norm or anything like that. We just did exactly what all the other counties are doing to use that service. The only other thing that I had was, and I'm going to hand this over to Ms. Emily in just a second because she understands it far better, but I wanted to say that we really need to seriously consider getting a technology person for the county. As we just went through the last discussion over garbage, that's
they would be
something
handy in that.
Correct. That's something that he or she, whoever we get in that position, can help us kind of resolve through having some technology out there that would help us kind of keep on track with this. I'd like Ms. Emily to talk about this a little further because she understands it far better than I do.
I had put a letter in each of your packets along this topic. And, you know, over the last 6 weeks or so, we've been having department head meetings. And I'm not the only one that thinks we need to get our own IT person. I think most of the departments feels like we could benefit from it. I have listed some of my concerns here that I think need to be addressed for y'all to consider, and basically all I'm asking is y'all to seriously consider us hiring our own IT person.
You want just the IT person or IT person and an assistant? Or
I
right
think you can
now,
only start with one person and build from that.
what's a timeline that you would think of, Ms. Emily? I mean,
When the board decides that we can hire one and allow me to advertise for one.
move forward.
Well, can we put together a job description?
Yeah, I mean, I've had one person that's got me a job description for the city's IT person. That's a starting place. And I can go with that one and tweak it to our needs. Be glad to send it to y'all to look at. But I don't think that we're at the point where we need to hire several people to at one time to do it. Personally, we would still be dependent on the Golden Triangle Planning and Development District for quite a while, because Tim Hurd he's great. He is absolutely great. You're absolutely great. They're all great. But Tim knows the system. Tim knows our network, where it runs, and what we got here and what we got there. But Tim's not always going to be there, and Tim's not. He's going to retire eventually, and he's not available 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and coming in when we need somebody after hours and everything. We just can't do it. So we have piecemealed all this about as far as we can. And we got some departments now that are stretching, I think, a little about security too. I think we're putting some openings in our network, doing some little dangerous stuff by going with some services. So it's up to y'all. I mean, I can keep on going like I'm going, but
We need IT.
yeah, we got this person coming down from Rudy's organization to help us with this all day, and we really need it set up.
You know, something else tied into that. If somebody calls me and it says, and they say, I'll make an example. Do we have a ordinance that prevents us from popping firecrackers in the county, or we have a dog bite ordinance or whatever? Right now, for me to be able to tell anybody anything, we have to go back into all of our orders, search these things out. Now, in all fairness, she's got them, and she can, believe it or not, she can almost go to them. I mean, it's
I have them
impressive.
electronically, but I don't have them where they're on the website.
I have a hard time finding anything, and that may go to the fact that I'm not very technologically based either. However, I think it would be prudent for y'all. I think it would help y'all be able to keep up with things. It would help our media outlets, citizens to be able to pull things up.
Right there.
And looking at the city's website, they have all of their stuff out there. I mean, they do their site is really good. We have got to catch up with the 21st century and kind of move us into a place that helps y'all do your jobs. If somebody calls and says, hey, do we have XYZ? A lot of times y'all have to pick up the phone and call me or call Miss Emily. And in all honesty, it would take less time if we had it all organized in a way that we could go back and look at. This garbage pickup issue or billing issue, not saying that but we could attach information about these types of things onto that if we had it. I just think that it's time for us to look at this, whatever, and I realize there are expenses tied to this. I'm not suggesting to you that we just carte blanche, go full force without having an idea of what a budget and all that kind of stuff should be. But I think it would be very beneficial to our constituents. It would be very beneficial to y'all as you work. And I can promise you it would be beneficial to me as I'm trying to make certain that we're not, stepping on our own ordinances that we're doing or our own things that we're trying to accomplish. So I think that we may be at that point. This county is far larger than
Others that have
right.
Well, Emily was here, that's when Don was still, administrator. I know he was. But back when Inspark built that website for us, we talked then about possibly hiring an IT person.
Yep.
Because they built that website, and this is what they told us. At that particular time, it was a Cadillac type website. That's been, you know how fast technology changes. So 10 years, 12 years ago.
2010.
Okay. So they told us when they built that, we're building this website so that it can be added on to, updated, continue to be built, you know, to keep up with modern time. And we discussed this, we talked about it, but it kind of just went, now I don't even know if this website is worth even going in and try. But to just to piggyback on what you said, I mean, we discussed this years ago because we knew, but we didn't follow up on it.
We have put our IPs on the back burner for everything else.
And from an economic development standpoint, keep this in mind. When someone comes and looks at our county, what is the first thing they do?
That was a link in there. I mean, I'm telling you, it was when Inspark built this website, they went through these scenarios with us. Listen, this website can be updated and added on to, but it was mentioned that we need a specific IT person to be able to maintain this website, keep it updated, keep fresh information up, continue to modernize it, and we just didn't do it.
We depended on each department to put stuff
To
out
put
there.
stuff in.
And Don didn't even show me how to add stuff to it. He would not. Dave is the one that updates all of it.
I move we develop a job description and move forward to advertising.
I'll second that motion. Supervisor Miller, did you hear that? On the IT, we made a motion and a second to get a job description for an IT person and advertise for that. Unmute yourself.
It lets me do it, but she has to confirm it.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
I unmuted myself. So my questions would be, with this, could we move to EPACs? Like I mentioned in the beginning, I see Emily lying in the back.
Full bar, we're gonna do it.
If we can get somebody get them apex out there.
And also, you know, if we're moving our stuff off of, getting a new server to move our stuff off of Golding, Triangle Planning Developments server, don't we have stuff on Three Rivers too? Aren't we using both? Would we eliminate the use of both servers and put it all on the county?
We're not on Three Rivers servers. We're on,
They back us up.
no, we're on super duper AS400 for the accounting software and everything. It's not for our, right now what's on Rudy's server is our email and our webpage. Everything else is through a server that's through, what do you call it, after under cellular cell?
Oh, the data center.
Yeah, the data center and up in Tupelo.
Tupelo was the secondary site, right? In case
No,
we had a storm.
MSU is the secondary site. Tupelo is the main site.
Primary, okay.
And that is a supercomputer system that's shared with 12 counties.
We have a second to.
I'll second it. Okay, so we made a motion and a second to get a job description on an IT person. Any more discussion on the and advertise?
Would it be appropriate to have anything about a salary on that?
Well, I think we need to get our job description developed and see what type of interest we get in it and what type of salaries people's going to be requesting, because I have no idea what salary range to put. Do you?
Well, that's what I was wondering. What would we, IT person, not gonna be?
Won't be free.
So I just wonder, could we have a general?
We'll get the job description
Yeah, could we have a
first.
general idea? A
The
general
IT
idea.
person should save the county money in the long run.
Yeah, could we have a general idea about this starting salary?
Tell me what y'all
It's-
got
Well, it's gonna
right.
be based upon
Between
your
70
job.
and 80.
Yeah, based on, but you can find that too.
Well,
If
their
you-
job description
you
is
could
everything
Google-
IT.
You could Google that, IT salary and then give you a rough estimate of how much. they
Yeah, and
want.
it depends
A
on how
low
much,
end and a
how
high
much
end.
experience you want them to have and that kind of stuff.
Along with getting that together, we'll
General
work
idea.
on that.
General
also.
idea.
This is the question, and just, do we want to get a job description first and let y'all approve that job description before we advertise for the job?
I don't know for my business.
You don't have,
I'm satisfied with it.
You too.
just make sure.
All right,
But
any more
you-
discussion?
You gonna shoot us the job description, all right?
I should do the job description. So you'll shoot it back.
Put it in our
We'll make
box,
a
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
like an old school. All right, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor Miller, did you vote yay or nay, or she voted yay? Okay, I thought she did.
I wonder if I had it.
I guess one last thing, and Supervisor Williams and I were kind of talking about it right before the meeting, that conference call with the governor. In a nutshell, what he told all the supervisors was, people were asking, through the MAS, when are we going to open the state up? And, he explained, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, but he explained, in other words, the essential workers that we have, and he hated to explain that anyone was essential. But in other words, other states to the northeast and to the west, they're not as open as we are. So people say, well, when are we going to open up? People may feel like our opening up is slower than other states, but I mean, you've got people can still build houses. People are still, working outside. I mean, some restaurants still have drive-throughs. To not say that we're not reduced, but that, the Mississippi is more open than other states. So it will be, I'm sure, through phases, but as a state, yes, we're going to lose revenue, but we're still ahead of other states, just what we got. So, and that was all I had. Anything else from anyone else?
He's on today, I think at 2:30, so.
Yeah.
He'll give an update.
He's gonna give an update, I'm sure, today, but it's a moving target. But if not, we need to set a recess meeting. That would be May 18th at 5:30, if that's okay with you.
I said, man, myself.
All right, well,
I thought we were gonna do 9 while we're doing Zoom.
do we want to do 9? Okay. All right, so you okay with 9 o'clock, Brickley? All right,
I think if everybody can get out, I think if the, everything's listed and people could come, we should go back to the 5:30. So if people are back working again, that's my opinion.
I'm neutral.
I think they're still gonna keep it 10 or under for quite a while. I don't think it's gonna go back full force like it was.
So us as a board, I don't care. He says 9.
It would be, not that this matters, y'all, but the 18th is when we're supposed to go back into session supposedly. If it's 9 a.m., I probably have a better shot of being here this year.
Let's do 9 a.m. for Rob, just so Rob can be here.
So you're gonna be here.
Let's do the 9 a.m. then. So Supervisor Trainer made that motion at 9 a.m. Howard is gonna second that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll be back here at 9 a.m. then. All right, and Supervisor Howard, myself, will report whatever we hear back on the garbage to the rest of the board. All right, thank you, Brickley.
Thank you.
I guess we're done.
Try to get those numbers before